Hi, everyone. So I think I know most of you here today, but for those who don't know me, my name is Samantha. I am the Director of Growth at Supersonic, currently leading two main activities, which is growth and product monetization. Um, I'm originally from Brazil, if you don't know, and I've been living in Israel for the last 13 years, and I've joined Iron Source about 5 years ago. So today, I try to focus on having such a senior monetization and user acquisition audience and try to see what I could bring onto the table. And I feel like when you're a senior person for a couple of years in the gaming industry, you kind of get used to the techniques that you know work, and this is what you bring onto the table into your work day to day. And what I want from this presentation is for you to get out of that autopilot mode, to try things that maybe you thought would fail and will surprise you for good. And at least for us in Supersonic, we've been seeing quite a few cases like that, and I'll share with you some tips from our side, and I hope it will be interesting. So to start, it's no new that monetization people are very data-oriented, right? We're A/B testing everything. We don't trust our gut feelings. We're just trying to see what works through the numbers. And in Supersonic, we divided the ad LTV into 3 pillars. The base is what you start with, which is retention and playtime, before you're adding monetization into the game, and we call it the APPU. The second one, the middle tier, is the ad strategy, and we're here talking about lifetime impressions and how to maximize your revenue through your lifetime impressions. And at the top of the pillar, you have the average revenue per user, right? The ARPU, which is something that all of us are very familiar with. So you may be asking yourself, is it a typo, APPU? What is she talking about? And it's actually a KPI that we created in Supersonic. It's new, and it's average playtime per user. It's a cumulative KPI that is summing up the playtime of our retained users. And why is it so critical? At least for ad LTV-oriented games, we know that playtime shows us the potential time we have to show ads and to make our revenue, right? So when looking at playtime, we want to be able to consider not only the playtime, but also the retention. And this KPI kind of gives us a good benchmark of the initial potential LTV that our games are going to have. And this is what we start with. All of our games or prototypes are usually looking at APPU, and from there understanding the benchmark and the potential they will have going forward. Now, the second one is the ad strategy, right? And in our minds, the more we maximize impressions, right, the more we will make money, because impressions are money nowadays. And it's actually not true. You need to consider playtime, retention, and the impact that it will have on all of these KPIs. So when it comes to ad strategy, we're talking about maximizing your lifetime impressions. And in Supersonic, again, here we were innovative, and we created a KPI that is called full screen frequency. Now, what is full screen frequency? Full screen frequency is the interval in time, in seconds, in which we're showing ads in our game. It basically tells us how well we are converting our playtime into ad impressions, right? And full screen frequency is basically including full screen ads, rewarded video, and interstitials. And why is it important to look at both of them together? Because one impacts the other, right? So if you're usually engaging with rewarded video, your interstitial timer is going to reset. And if you usually see a lot of interstitials, it may impact the engagement with rewarded video. So we want to look at them as one and to understand the balance they have and the potential they have together. And this is where full screen frequency comes into the picture. Now, I just want to say that each game genre may have different benchmarks, but all of these KPIs are kind of, in my opinion, relevant for any genre. And in Supersonic, we are usually looking for an interval of about 100 seconds between ads, meaning that every 100 seconds we'll be showing at least one impression of interstitials or RV, and you want this KPI to remain constant. So throughout day 0 to day 14, you want it to stay 100 seconds, and if it increases, it's showing you that maybe throughout later levels in your game, your monetization is not well optimized. Maybe the rewards aren't interesting enough. Maybe you need to think about what happened that led level 30 in day 5 to have a lot more seconds in between the ads that you're showing. And just the data gives us the indication of what we should be focusing on. And putting all of these two into one, we get our average revenue per user, right? So once you have average revenue per user, you're trying to maximize that, and you're always looking at this KPI. It is the king. And your goal is, as a monetization manager, usually to have the maximum out of it. Cool. So now that we talked a little bit about the data, right, what I came here today is to bring you some insights on what we've been doing in Supersonic, and I'm going to focus on 4 main points of tips for you guys to take home that, in my opinion, can be implemented easily into many different types of games, okay? So I hope you will get inspired from this to get off this autopilot mode and to innovate a little bit more. Getting inspiration from booster creatives. So this is something that, in our opinion, is a must. In Supersonic, what we call booster creatives, just to clarify, are creatives that usually give you 3, 4, 5 times more install for the same cost, right? So your CPI is the same, but because of this creative, you're able to buy so much more. It changes the marketability power of your game, right? And when this happens, it's telling you something, not just for the user acquisition side, but also for the monetization. And what it's telling you is that people like that, right? And they are interested in it. And we want to look into these creatives and see if there are any features there that we haven't yet brought into the game. And we take the ideas from it, and we try to also apply from the product monetization perspective. So basically, one recommendation I have is to make sure that your creatives and monetization teams have very good synergies and at least a monthly sync so they can share idea. It can go the other way around. A great feature that is working right now in your game can be brought into the creative too, right? And bring you a win over there. On Supersonic, one example of it is going balls. On the beginning of this game, creatives that had cartoonish obstacles were working great, and this is what we were focusing on. And in the last year, we've been seeing a lot of successes with more realistic obstacles, and we decided to try and implement it in the game. We created this portal that takes you to a level with very realistic obstacle, just similar to what the creative had, and it managed to increase our LTV on both platforms by a nice amount. Usually here I'm putting day 7 benchmarks because this is how we are estimating our later days, and it shows a very good representation of what's going to go forward for ad revenue-oriented games. Next, that's a topic I like a lot. Building a sophisticated, that's how we call it, interstitials experience. So what is a sophisticated experience? Is basically trying to think about all the different hats and types of players we have in our games, right? And trying to make sure that they will be enjoying the game beyond the interstitials that we are showing. We know interstitials is frustrating, and it can lead to a drop in retention and so on. So we've always been, before even Google Play policy came out, trying to see how to sophisticate that, right? But we do need revenue from interstitials, so we can just take it out of our games. And one thing that we did a while back is what we call the no-touch interstitials. The no-touch interstitials is basically an interstitial that is triggered when there is no touch in the screen. For our games, in order for you to be playing, you need to be with a finger on the screen. So if you haven't touched the screen for X seconds, we consider you in a pause, in an interval. We all multitask and do so many different things at once. So it could be that you're playing and you took a break. And this is a great time to show an ad. And it's actually also a great time for you advertisers to show your ad. Why? Even though the player maybe at the same time is doing something else, he's going to come back to the phone, right? And he will look at his screen, and he will see an end card. And this end card is going to show your app, and he will need to click on the screen to get out of it, right? So for sure he will see it. And that's a great opportunity for a download, because he's anyway at a pause. So CPMs are actually very good in this placement. And it's a win-win-win. We are winning from the LTV perspective. Advertisers are maybe getting their installs, and players are enjoying from a more sophisticated interstitial. This is an example from join numbers, and that we managed to increase by quite a significant amount, and the developer is here with us today, so we're excited about that. The other one is before and after end-level screen, and I mean before the end-level winnings, right? Today, what we are used to from our know-how years in the industry is that rewarded video is the king, right? He's the best. We should treat rewarded video engaged users like premium users when it comes to ad revenue. And what we did is we always showed interstitials only if the players reject the RV offer. And what we thought about is 40% of the users, if you have a very good rewarded video strategy, are actually engaging with the ad, right? So what about that other 60% that said, no, I don't want a reward, don't show me an ad, and you go and you show them an interstitials anyway. So we are not listening to those players, right? And we wanted to test this strategy in a different approach, and to make interstitial a natural pause commercial in the game, right at the end level, show an interstitial break. After that, show the end level winnings and see what happens. And to be honest, it's a very, very successful A/B test. Obviously, when it comes to interstitial, you should test everything I'm saying because it's not right for every game, but it's something I highly recommend doing. Getting inspired by other genres. So Anna, with her great presentation yesterday, also brought this up, and I think it's a very good recommendation. Because you're in hyper-casual, it doesn't mean you should only look at hyper-casual, right? We can get ideas from anywhere, and you should get inspired by all types of genres. And I will show you a few examples of things that I think can be applicable to many games, and we did in Supersonic. The first one is the leaderboard. So it's this automated leaderboard that pops up at every end level, and it gives the players the feeling that they're going up. It doesn't even really matter what number you're at. It's like a 2-second screen that appears, but it helped us improve the LTV of the games a lot. And this is something very common on PvP games, right? So in ad revenue-oriented, you just make it a bit automated, and you give the players the feeling of competition. The second one is the confetti experience, we call it. And it's something that basically, when you're succeeding in a game, when you manage to hit that shot in the basket, we're giving you this juicy experience of like tons of confettis and zooming and having you guys feel the success, right? Because who doesn't like to feel like a winner? We all do. So let's make sure that it's emphasized for everyone. Next is music. Music is all around, and in casual games, this is never underseen, right? We always, like for casual, mid-core, are thinking about the sound, the music, the volume. And in ad-oriented games, we are actually underestimating it. So we try to test, a different volume, sound effect, musics, and we've seen success a lot of times from it. So do not underestimate what music and the power of music can do. So basically good ideas can come from anywhere and anyone, and this is how I'm going to start wrapping up. We had someone in the team, a growth operation manager, that brought us an idea. Obviously, the idea wasn't fully cooked, right? But we did listen to her, and it gave us an opportunity to create some sort of like roadmap feature for our games from the idea that she brought. So I'm just saying, like, good ideas can come from anywhere. What was her idea that after we discussed it a bit, we adjusted, is basically how to increase session length, right? So we all know the average session length of our games, and we said, like, how can we do it? And maybe if we show this reward that will come up unrelated to RV or anything, but it could also afterwards, of course, connect to RV to double, triple the coins. But to show this chest box, giving you coins, cash, something, if you stay X seconds, minutes longer than what the average session length for the game is. And maybe players will be interested because it's only 40 seconds more. They'll see this countdown timer, as you see in the screen, and they'll say, okay, this is only another 40 seconds, let's play a bit more, and I'll get the coins. It worked so well, we implemented in 3 of our biggest games, as you can see here, Going Balls, Bazooka, Bridge Race, and it's a very simple feature. All you need in order to kickstart it is to know what's the average session length, and then calculate some sort of reward. So, to sum, don't be afraid to try. Trust the data. A/B test, of course, all of your decisions, but definitely get out of your autopilot mode. Understand that ideas can come from anywhere. They can be many times underestimated and surprise us for good, So don't ever underestimate an idea, test it, and don't be afraid to innovate. Thank you.